Asanteni sana. It is a great honor for me to participate in this critical event, the commemoration of the International Women's Day is a dedicated opportunity for us as a nation to reflect on the progress we have made in promoting greater inclusion of women in order to realize gender equality and create the necessary conditions for inclusive prosperity and also national development. The terms under which we pursued development in the past consigned us to slow, inadequate progress because of the underlying fundamental inclusivity deficit, which marginalized regions, excluded sectors, and disenfranchised women. Not only did the majority of our people end up poor and deprived of opportunities to change their prospects, but structural and systemic discrimination also guaranteed that women inevitably fell among the most vulnerable people in our society. It is difficult today to take seriously any growth and development strategy which deliberately leaves behind everyone, let alone 50% of our communities and national family. Yet we realize with clarity that historically this is what happened with all development initiatives which did not proceed on the basis of inclusivity and equality. Unemployment in general denied women the opportunity to participate in production, and through archaic institutions which denied women equality, women who worked hard were deprived of the fruits of their contribution and labor. As a result, we were not only marginalized, but also perpetually vulnerable to much greater exploitation, violence, insecurity, conflict, ill health, and every other adversity to which our societies were prone. Even today, there are many parts of our country where the mental image of wealth, power, and status is still male, while that of poverty and suffering is female. It is highly self-contradictory for a society to rapid economic development while sustaining structural conditions which exclude half of the people, and yet that is exactly what failure to implement full inclusion of women and gender equality does. Under Article 10 of our Constitution, it requires us to observe and actualize human dignity, equality, social justice, inclusiveness, non-discrimination, and the protection of the marginalized as national values and principles of governance, which must define both the process and outcomes of every economic, social, cultural, and political endeavor. Under Article 27(3), the Constitution stipulates that women and men have the right to equal treatment, including the right to equal opportunities in political, economic, cultural, and social spheres. To ensure that inclusion remains at the agenda of national renaissance, the Constitution mandates the state to take legislative and other measures, including affirmative action programs and policies, to redress any disadvantages suffered by individuals or groups because of past practices. More specifically, these measures should implement the principle that not more than 2/3 of members of elective or appointed bodies shall be of the same gender. Our blueprint for radical national transformation must therefore be underpinned by the imperative to facilitate the full engagement and robust participation of women in every dimension of our development agenda. The bottom-up economic transformation agenda thus recognizes the unprecedented radical power in facilitating the full contribution of all our people in every sector, rather than just half of them. Twice as many opportunities will be created and exploited, and twice as much productivity will be unlocked. In our plan, we recognize the need to change the prevailing conditions and situations where female participation is key in key economic sectors remain minimal, with a vast majority of those women who participate being consigned to low-income employment and enterprise and under poor working conditions. Generally speaking, women remained excluded in decision-making within our governance and political institutions, while millions suffer or are vulnerable to sexual and gender-based violence. Moreover, health services have been inadequate for the needs of women and remained inaccessible and unaffordable. Environmental degradation, pollution, and climate change have complicated the lives and livelihoods of women, increasing their responsibilities in unpaid care work and thus accelerating poverty, early marriage, childhood pregnancies, and other disadvantaged conditions. Through highly intentional interventions, our bottom-up economic transformation agenda prescribed a pathway to transform the conditions, contributions, and participation of women in national development by deliberately eliminating every cultural, political, social, and other excuse for treating women unjustly. To achieve this, we recognize that we would have to direct unprecedented levels of investment to promote inclusion and affirmative action in socio-economic sectors. Specifically, we undertook to provide financial inclusion and capacity building for women through interventions like the Hustler Fund in women-led cooperative societies, chamas, merry-go-rounds, and table banking initiatives, and to take measures to protect them from predatory lenders. We've also resolved to be highly intentional, as I was requested here by the women rep of Embu County, in actualizing the constitutional gender inclusion principle, or the one-third rule, through various strategies, including at the party level and policy levels for elective representative positions in Kenya. Our agenda also committed to confront the issue of violence against women more directly, including through the deployment of increased personnel at the gender desks in our police stations and enhanced funding for the anti-female genital mutilation campaign, as well as upholding the dignity of girls and women, especially in learning institutions, by providing menstrual hygiene products free of charge. The impact of this investment has been radically transformative. As I explained yesterday, during the launch of the G7 caucus strategy, women have remained consistent in the uptake of various financial inclusion funds. And at the same time, we have disbursed 942 million to 1.4 million women who are members of 53,000 women groups and that are already accessing affordable financial facilities through the Women Fund. I have asked the CS responsible for Women Enterprise Fund, Madam Aisha Jomo here, that we will do at least 3 things that must make women enterprise significant, different, and intentional. Number 1 is to eliminate the requirement for collateral when women are borrowing money from Women Enterprise Fund. Number 2, to reduce interest rate for women borrowing under Women Enterprise Fund to only 6%. And number three, that we are going to enhance the money as the ministry works on eliminating and structuring the fund so that we can reach more women in Kenya. I also undertook yesterday that on the matter of the two-thirds gender rule, I am happy that members of parliament have now committed that the quest